Warning, look at the pinhole. The story of how an ordinary AK magazine turns into a deadly weapon waiting for its moment. Picture a typical street in a war-torn city. Rubble, dust, the smell of burning. You're moving, fully geared up, your eyes scanning every detail. And then, near a shattered wall, you see it. An ordinary, unremarkable magazine for a Kalashnikov rifle. It's lying there as if someone dropped it in a hurry. Rusty, battered, but so tempting when ammo is scarce. Your hand instinctively reaches to pick it up, just to take it. Seems like a small thing. A lucky find. This isn't luck. This is the last thing you'll ever find. Because this ordinary-looking mag is a bona fide booby trap. A mine disguised as a friend. The most terrifying thing about it is its treachery. It won't just kill you alone. It can wound or kill several of your comrades who rush to your aid. One wrong move, one careless action, and the price is your life. Some people will read this and smirk. Yeah, right, fairy tales. Don't be so gullible. Others will turn pale and start reading every line carefully. And I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter who ends up being right. What matters is that everyone needs to know about this. Everyone who walks on ground where this simple metal box of cartridges might be lying. Because war isn't just about the whistle of bullets and the roar of shells. It's about the silence that hides death, a death that can fit in the palm of your hand. Luckily, there are a few tricks, a few signs that can save your life. And the main one is that same, almost invisible pinhole inside the magazine. But to understand what that hole is and why it's there in the first place, we need to take a journey into the past, into the psychology of a soldier, into the economics of war, and into the dark corners of human ingenuity. Chapter 1. War is the mother of invention, or why booby traps are eternal. Let's be real, booby traps have been used for as long as war itself has existed. Back in ancient times, warriors dug pit traps with stakes at the bottom, set up nearly invisible tripwires to unhorse a rider, and left poisoned food and water. It's the weapon of the weak against the strong, the weapon of cunning against brute force. It's a way to level the playing field when the enemy is superior in numbers, armament, or training. With the advent of gunpowder and then modern explosives, booby traps didn't just stay in fashion. They became a true art form of death. Why? Because explosives allow you to make a surprise, incredibly compact, powerful, and place it where an enemy soldier simply doesn't expect a trick. In a cartridge case, in a pen, in a child's toy, in a can of stew, and yes, in a rifle magazine. Imagine the psychology of a fighter. What is he looking for on the battlefield? Trophies, weapons, ammo, food, anything that can help him survive. An AK magazine is one of the most desirable finds. The Kalashnikov rifle and its variants are the most widespread firearms in the world. They're used by armies, guerrillas, terrorists, and security guards. Millions and millions of weapons, and hundreds of millions of magazines for them. Finding a magazine is like finding a key to continuing the fight. It's a valuable resource. And it's precisely this natural, logical soldier's reaction that the trap setter is counting on. They play on your instincts, on your desire to survive, to replenish your ammo. They turn hope into a tool of murder. This is psychological warfare in its purest and most vile form. Chapter 2. Where did it come from? Bosnia, Afghanistan, or Vietnam? Let's investigate. Officially, reliably, with documented evidence, the world learned about this gift from the enemy in the 90s during the bloody conflict in the former Yugoslavia, specifically in Bosnia. The story, as usual, is shrouded in legends, but the gist is this. After one of the battles, soldiers found a strange magazine for a Kalashnikov rifle near an enemy trench that had been abandoned. The strangeness was that it had a safety pin attached to it somehow, the same kind with a ring that you pull out of grenades. The guys who found it were no rookies. They understood. In war, nothing happens without a reason. If someone attached a pin to a magazine, it's not for fun. They didn't shake it, inspect it closely, or, God forbid, try to insert it into their rifle. They showed the highest level of wisdom. They handed the find over to the EOD specialists, explosive ordnance disposal. And that's when things got interesting. The EOD guys, people whose lives depend on attentiveness and caution, got to work. They disassembled this seemingly standard mag, and inside, they found a simple but disgustingly effective small mine. Compact, deadly, and perfectly camouflaged. After the information about this find got out, reports started pouring in. We saw that in Afghanistan. The mujahideen used to make those. That's common in Africa. That's entirely possible. The idea of blowing up the enemy with his own weapon or gear isn't new. Let's remember Vietnam. American Special Forces carried out operations where they would plant exploding cartridges of 7.62 millimeter caliber for the Viet Cong. A fighter would load such a round into his rifle, take a shot, and at the moment of firing, the case would rupture right in the chamber, maiming or killing the shooter. Nasty stuff. And there were also exploding cartridges for the Mosin rifle during World War II. So the concept itself is ancient. But the magazine booby trap, in its Bosnian incarnation, became the epitome of treachery. Why? Because its design is ridiculously simple. Virtually anyone with basic skills and access to explosives can assemble it in a makeshift workshop. No high-tech required. All genius is simple and terrible. Economic briefing and analysis. Why is this profitable? The cost of death and the cost of life. Let's step away from the technical details for a moment and look at this problem from the perspective of war economics. War isn't just about blood, it's also about vast amounts of money. Cost of one standard Alaska magazine, on average, 15 to 30 US dollars. On the black market, even cheaper. Cost of explosives, TNT, or equivalents a few dollars per kilogram. For one trap, you need 30 to 50 grams. So pennies. Cost of a simple fuse also amounts to cents or a dollar if made in a workshop. Total cost of one magazine trap, $5 to $20. Now let's calculate the cost for the enemy. Treatment of one severely wounded soldier, tens of thousands of dollars. Helicopter evacuation, surgery, rehabilitation, pension. Loss of one trained combat unit. The cost of his training, equipment, and, most importantly, an irreplaceable blow to the unit's combat effectiveness. Morale damage. Fear, paranoia, distrust of any found items, a drop in fighting spirit. This can't be measured in money, but it's one of the most important factors. Conclusion. For $20, you can inflict damage on the enemy worth tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and also sow panic and distrust. The economic efficiency of this weapon is off the charts. It's a weapon of poor armies, guerrillas, and terrorists, allowing them to wage an asymmetric war with minimal costs. It's a business with a terrifying profit margin, where dividends are paid out in deaths and shattered lives. Chapter 3. How does it work? The anatomy of betrayal. Let's break this infernal device down to its components to understand what we're dealing with. A warning. This knowledge is for awareness, not for replication. The shell. This is an ordinary, genuine magazine for a Kalashnikov rifle. No external differences. It could have been used normally before. It might have dents, scratches, rust, anything that makes it look authentic. The charge. Inside, instead of cartridges, an explosive substance is placed. In that Bosnian version that reached the EOD teams, it was 35 grams of TNT. That's enough to blow off your hands, blind you, cause fatal fragmentation wounds to your face, neck, and chest. The amount and type of explosive can vary. They might add nails, ball bearings, or metal scraps to increase the lethality. The heart of the evil, the fuse. A release type fuse is installed. This is the key point. What does that mean? Simply put, it's triggered not when pressure is applied, but the opposite, when the pressure holding it back is removed. Imagine a spring you're compressing with your hand. The moment you remove your hand, the spring uncoils. It's the same principle here. The magazine spring. It's taken from the same magazine, but shortened and modified to create the necessary pressure on the fuse. The follower. It's put back in place on top of the explosive and the fuse. The decoy cartridges. Here's the main trick. To make the fuse work correctly, several real cartridges are placed in the magazine on top of the follower. In the Bosnian version, 5 rounds. The force with which the spring presses on these 5 cartridges is exactly what holds the fuse in a safe position. The safety pin, and finally that same pin, it's inserted into a specially drilled hole in the magazine's body and locks the entire mechanism, preventing it from activating until the time is right. As long as the pin is in place, the trap is safe. You can carry it with you, transport it. Chapter 4. The Fatal Scenario. How it plays out in reality. Now imagine how the tragedy unfolds. Step 1. A saboteur or enemy soldier comes to an abandoned house or a deserted position. He leaves this magazine there. He pulls the pin. A quiet, almost inaudible click. The trap is now armed. It waits. Step 2. You or your buddy find this magazine. Oh, lucky day, you think. There are a few scenarios. Scenario A, the most common. You insert the magazine into your rifle. You start firing. You shoot 4, 5 rounds. The 5th round goes into the chamber. At that moment, the pressure on the fuse, which was held by those 5 cartridges, disappears. The fuse's sleeve moves back, releasing the locking balls. The firing pin is released and strikes the detonator. En explosion occure. The explosive detonates right in your face. You are dead. Your comrades nearby are wounded. Scenario B, more cautious. You didn't immediately insert the magazine into your rifle. You decided to transfer the cartridges to your own pouch. You start taking them out one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The moment the last 5th cartridge is extracted, the same thing happens. The pressure is gone, and the fuse activates right in your hands. The result is the same. That's the ultimate treachery. The trap isn't triggered when you pick it up, but when you start using it for its intended purpose or something close to it. It kills you at the moment you've already started believing in your luck and let your guard down. Chapter 5. How to Survive. A survival guide for a combat zone. Now, let's get to the most important part. How do you spot this nasty device? Smart but out-of-touch Western magazines suggest the most reliable method, an X-ray machine. The advice is technically correct. But let's be honest, how many grunts do you know who carry a portable X-ray machine in their pack? I've seen 0. At best, the EOD team might have one somewhere far in the rear. So you can safely forget about that advice. Some suggest using probes. But how? Are you going to poke a probe into every magazine you find? Well, there are dozens. It's slow and ineffective. Sounds dubious. Therefore, there is one ironclad, unbreakable rule that every fighter must brand into their mind with a hot iron. Never touch anything you didn't drop or place there yourself. This is rule number 1, 2, and 3. Walk on by. Mark the spot for the EOD team. But don't touch it. Your life is worth more than any trophy, no matter how valuable. But we live in the real world. There are situations when you're out of ammo, a firefight is raging, and this found magazine is the only hope. A desperate situation where the risk seems justified. What to do then? This is where our knowledge comes in handy. First method, by weight and by sight. Look inside the magazine. If there are only 5 cartridges, that's already a serious reason to be suspicious. An experienced fighter will feel the difference in weight between a fully loaded magazine, 30 rounds, and an almost empty one. But the trap maker isn't stupid. They know this. So they often load not 5, but, say, 10 or 15 cartridges. Half a magazine. That way the weight is more believable, and a quick glance inside doesn't reveal anything suspicious. Second method, checking the inspection hole. Most AK magazines have special holes or windows to check the number of rounds. Cunning trap makers place a dummy cartridge or a real one opposite this window to create the illusion of a full magazine. But there's a loophole here. If you carefully, with extreme caution, extract 1 cartridge from the magazine and look into the inspection hole, the picture won't change. The cartridge in the window will remain motionless. In a normal magazine, the cartridges are pushed up by the spring, and after removing one, the next one should take its place and shift. If that doesn't happen, you're almost certainly looking at a booby trap. This method is risky, but in a hopeless situation, it might work. And finally, the third, most important method. Look carefully at the pinhole inside the magazine. Yes, that very hole. You need to look for it. Where? Inside the magazine, on its sidewall. It's small, neat, often with burrs because it was drilled in a workshop. It's located where a standard magazine should not have one. To see it, you need to shine a flashlight inside and be extremely attentive. It's the mark from that very pin that was pulled out to arm the trap. If you see such a hole, drop everything and move away. It's a 100% sign of mine. Finding it is difficult, very difficult, especially for someone who doesn't know what to look for. But now you know, and in that knowledge lies your strength. Chapter 6. My opinion and final thoughts. I'm not an expert with stars on my uniform. I'm a person who studies information, analyzes it, and tries to pass it on to others. And for me, this story about the magazine booby trap isn't just a story about a clever weapon. It's a powerful metaphor. It's a metaphor for how the simplest and most reliable things can be turned against you. How your own instincts, the desire to find, to take, to replenish supplies, can be used for your own destruction. War shatters all notions of fairness. In war, there is no fair fight. There is survival, and the enemy will use the dirtiest trick to win. This story teaches us humility, that you can't be overconfident, that you can't let your guard down for a second, that the price of carelessness is death. It also teaches us to value knowledge. Not brute force, but precisely knowledge. The one who knew about the pinhole is alive. The one who didn't could have died. Spreading this kind of information isn't about fear-mongering. It's about saving lives. Every share, every repost, every story told to a comrade is a potentially saved person. It's minus one tragedy, minus one broken family. That's why I believe we need to talk about this. Loudly. From every rooftop, until every fighter, every volunteer, every person in a risk zone hammers this simple rule into their head. I look for the pinhole. I don't touch what isn't mine. The war will end someday, but the knowledge will remain. And perhaps it will save someone's life, even in peacetime, somewhere on a training range, while disposing of old ordnance. Knowledge is the only weapon that will never fail you. That's the end of our story. But this is only the beginning of your journey to safety. We've only covered one very important topic. There are hundreds of them on this channel. We talk about tactics, weapons, survival, about things official sources stay quiet about. Subscribe to the channel right now. Don't put it off. Hit that button to always be in the loop with the most crucial, verified information. You deserve only the truth, and we tell it. And now, write a comment. Have you ever encountered anything like this? What do you think about the effectiveness of such traps? Maybe you know other ways to detect them? Or do you have your own story related to this? Your experience is priceless. Let's discuss it together. Help others by sharing your opinion. And of course, like this post and share it with your friends and comrades. Spread this information. Let as many people as possible learn about this danger. Perhaps your repost will save someone's life. Be careful, be vigilant, and stay alive.